Hello everyone, it's Doorkeeper 07. Today we are playing very fun brew and I was able to do a trophy league with it in first try. The deck was amazing, but what are we doing here? So on my channel there's often like a lot of zoo decks, but also recently I had two Jeskai trial videos. Okay, so make sure check that out if you're interested, but Doorkeeper Troll proved to be a very good meta choice at the moment. It's great against three main decks at the moment. Orzo Blink against Energy stops a lot of their deck like a Johnny, like a Guide of Souls, like Seasoned Pyromancer. And it's good against Grinding Station Breach. It stops Grinding Station from untapping, so it stops their combo. They can't win with Doorkeeper Trial on the field. And it's also good against some other decks, a lot of random decks. Also great against Amulet Titan, for example, and all other decks that have ATB abilities from creatures or artifacts. Okay, but even if we are not hating on opponent's deck with Doorkeeper Trial, Doorkeeper Trial still has good use in this deck because we are using it here to scam 8 of our creatures. So Zoo already plays Flages in most of the situation. Flage is great in a Zoo style deck, so we have a Flage to scam it with Doorkeeper Trial on the field. It stays on the field, it doesn't do 3 damage, but it also stays on the field, doesn't go to the graveyard. But if we have Arena of Glory, which is great in both in Zoo decks and Doorkeeper Trial decks, so good in both decks. Arena of Glory kind of a key for this build, and hasting Flage with Doorkeeper Trial on the field is amazing. You just get to attack immediately with haste, deal 3 damage wherever you want, and just have this big Flage attacking and making really big clock. Okay, so also we have 4 Null Drifters. Null Drifter is a card that also we can scam it on the field using either Doorkeeper Trial or Consign to Memory. Okay, so Consign to Memory is another piece which is great in the current meta. It's especially great against Eldrazi, but it's a versatile card that does well against a wide range of decks. And it's a good card to have it. It's versatile enough to have it in the main. It's good on its own and also helps you either scam Flage or scam Null Drifter on turn 4, of course. Okay, so 8 spells to help us scam these creatures, and we have Flage plus Null Drifter as payoffs to playing these cards. Okay, so but also you will see that these cards are just very good on their own. Okay, a Null Drifter is kind of the riskier card in this, let's say, combo, but when it works, it's super good. You will see in some games a Null Drifter was amazing, truly just single-handedly won some games, but at worst case it's a 3 mana draw 2, which is like not the end of the world, so I guess it's a decent card to play in the current meta game where there are a lot of very grindy decks, so drawing extra cards can be very useful. But also to connect all that what we are doing here, we have Ugin's Binding. So this card is a kind of works like a tempo piece when you have Ragavan into Territorial Kavu hands into Scion Jaco. You can use this card to bounce opponent's permanent, go through with damage, and it's decent, but it's not like super great value for 3 mana. You'd want to do more than just bounce a creature, but there is the biggest payoff which we can do after casting this card or after discarding it with Territorial Kavu ability. We can cast either Null Drifter or Scion Draco. This is 12 mana colorless creature, so casting Scion Draco actually triggers Eugene's Binding. So if you have this in the graveyard, you can just bounce your entire opponent's board to hand, and this can get really crazy. Okay, so I was able to do this once in a league in the trophy match. I was super excited to do that. In other cases it was like a tempo piece. I was trying to bounce a blocker to attack with Territorial Kavu, and same. All in all, it was pretty solid, and I kind of always wanted to try Eugene's Binding in Zoo because it gets triggered by Scion Draco but now we also have Null Drifter in this build which can also trigger it, so that's really good. Okay, also the same thing with Kozilek's Return. We know how good is this card against small creature decks like Energy, like Yagmoth, Samwise Combo, whatever, the creature decks like that. So having Kozilek's Return against those decks is a huge deal. First you kill all their creatures for 3 mana instant speed, and then for 0 mana you just cast your Sinal Draco or Null Drifter. Before it enters the field you just clear entire board again, and that is like super powerful card to have in your sideboard at the moment. What else do we have here? I decided to include Wrath of the Skies, since in this version we only have 2 1-drops, and the Wrath of the Skies is just a super powerful card at the moment, which can win you a lot of games, and you will often play it for like X1 anyway, and don't have too many 2-drops as well, like Territorial Caval plus Doorkeeper Thrall, postboard probably even less when bringing in Wrath of the Skies, so Null Drifter and Sinal Draco and Flage usually won't die from using Wrath of the Skies. So I think it's a very good sideboard option for like a mid-rangey Zooish build like this one. Okay, so for Stubborn Denials in the sideboard to play against combo decks or some other non-creature spells when need to be countered. More removal to Get Lost. This card is great, kills a lot of cards that are good against the zoo, like Blood Moon, Harbinger of the Seas, any big creature that stonewalls you, kills Bombardment, Fables, Leyline Bindings, Static Prisons, whatever. So it's very versatile card. Also it kills Planeswalkers. Okay, so now after the Ether Drift release we could possibly change this card for something else like Exercise or Celestial Purge. Something like that, to have answer for have that card answer Catramos as well. But yeah, there are decent options, other decent options out there. 2 Verters in the sideboard and Soul Guide Lanterns as graveyard hate pieces. Okay, so that is it. That is the entire deck. So kind of playing this very strong mid-range zoo shell, but with not going all in with Tribal Flames, Ragavan's Lightning Bolts, Stubborn Denials in the main or whatever else, but instead going for a more mid-rangey plan, trying to be a little bit grindy and be able to draw some cards to find that sound combo which wins against a lot of the decks, find some answers like Leyland Binding, Consign, or some cyber cards with Null Drifter, with Doorkeeper Thrall and Arena of Glory. Can also win a lot of games. This guy has Annihilator 1. It starts attacking, opponent has to sack permanents. Is for some decks it's really a big problem and they will lose to it. Okay, so a lot of good stuff you can do in this build, and I'm so happy I was able to do a trophy league in first try with it. Okay, so before we go to the gameplay, let me remind you on my Decktionary profile. Okay, so on my Decktionary, I started working on it again last month. I already have 4 guides in my medium tier here. So 4 freshly updated guides. As per while, Dimir Frog, Mardo Energy, Domain Zoo, all of these guides are freshly updated. In top tier list, I also got tips and tricks article, large article on Energy and Zoo, and some other older articles. There will be new articles, new guides in the future. We all know that Ether Drift released just now, and I will try to do, as soon as I go through all the main Ether Drift brews, I will try to update my Decktionary again as well. I'll also check out all the guides if they need updating and whatever, making new or updating old ones. That is what is going to be happening here. Okay, so that's it. We can now go check out the gameplay and see how I got the trophy league in this build, with this build. Okay, so let's go. So this was first match. Let's start and see how this deck performed. It was a really fun experiment while I was waiting for Ether Drift to be released on MTGO, and this deck was just super fun to try. I wanted to do it for some time. It was like a perfect situation to try and do it. Okay, so here I started with Leyline of the Guildpact on the field and Ragavan, 2 bolts and 2 flages in my hand, so a lot of burn power. Opponent unfortunately has removal for my Ragavan, and they go preordain on their turn. And now I'm in a situation where I'm playing against EZ deck, so could be a good thing to go find a basic and surveil end of turn. I find Sino Draco on the top, and the Sino Draco combo is pretty difficult for any EZ deck to get rid of. But here my opponent had Sink into Stupor immediately to bounce my Leyline of the Guildpact. So I went for a Flage phase, attacked them down to 9 life. So at this point Scion is excellent threat on its own. And I have a lot of burn spells in my hand, which means that if they don't kill Scion next turn, they're going to be in problem. And even if they do, I have possible double bolt kill if they shock in another Steam Vents. Okay, so opponent is down on 9 life. Very convenient for me since I have 9 damage in my of spells in my hand. Okay, so opponent plays tapped Steam Vents and passes the turn. I go in with Sino Draco to attack. I go for a Blood Crypt. Now I have a full domain again, and I go in for damage with a Flage and a Lightning Bolt. So I go with Flage. Opponent counters Flage, so yeah, that's really bad for them. They had to counter it here, but yeah, they survive. They get a turn here, try to find something, do something. But I also have Silent Drake on the field, which is pretty hard for them to deal with. And the end of their turn, I go for a Lightning Bolt, but they also have to deal with Flage, with Scion, and another bolt in my hand, so opponent finally concedes. That was the game. Let's check out game 2. Okay, so starting with Leyline Guildpact in the hand, Ragavan and Territorial Cavu seems like a pretty sweet start. Also Eugene's Binding. Of course, Doorkeeper Thrall is not good against EZ decks. It's a kind of meta choice card that is good on its own against a large percentage of the current meta game. But if it's not good as a hate piece, already we commented in this deck, it's also just a card that helps you scam Flage and Null Drifter, so it's always good. It's never like bad and useless. Unlike other when you're playing other combo decks that has some kind of combo in them. Okay, so opponent here goes for Surgical Extraction. I don't care, I only have another Ragavan in my deck, so I'm trying to hoping they'll tap out and I can play Doorkeeper Thrall and maybe hope to go Arena of Glory, haste my Null Drifter. Our opponent has red mana open, so it's really not likely this happens, but also it's fine if it doesn't. I just decide the opponent only has 4 cards in hand, so I decide to risk it and go for Null Drifter here. If opponent has removal, okay, my Null Drifter dies, but I still get to draw 2 cards, and opponent still has to use removal on my Doorkeeper Thrall. They didn't have removal, but they did have Consign, so they counter my Null Drifter, but I still get to draw 2, so ended up in such a good situation with all of this. Okay, so we can see here I went for Territorial Cavu with haste, but opponent had Spell Snare, Eugene's Binding in my hand. I don't have much to bounce. Opponent didn't play any permanents so far, so now I go for Flage Escape. Flage Escape does a lot of damage here, but unfortunately I don't get the ATB effect because of the Doorkeeper Thrall. Okay, opponent plays Snapcaster just to like be able to play Flame of Anor. And now I go Eugene's Binding. Eugene's Binding to bounce their Snapcaster, and this way they can't block my Flage, and I can go for lethal on immediately on this same turn. Okay, so opponent has subtlety to prevent this for a turn, but I have a Flage on the field which they have to deal with, and I have Flage on the top of my library which is also lethal. So yeah, pretty bad situation for the opponent, and they concede quick 2 wins against EZ control. So let's check out match 2. Okay, so in match 2 I started with Leyline combo in hand, but I only had one land. I decided to shock in Sacred Foundry to hold Consign to Memory on their turn. Opponent starts with Temple Garden and Green Sun Zenith for Dryad Arbor. Okay, so nothing I can consign there, and there it is, another Scion of Draco. Unfortunately, at the moment, I don't have a second land to cast my Scion. Of course, Scion combo is great against a lot of creature decks, and a lot of decks just don't have good answer to it. This is probably like something like 4-color Omnat, which is another deck, a really good example of when Doorkeeper Jarl is just super good. Here I finally find the land on the turn 3. I was able to get the Scion combo. My opponent already have a lot of creatures on the field, a lot of stuff on the field, Vren plus Omnat plus Dread Arbor. Here I can attack Vren with Scion, but Vren is on 5 and opponent is already kind of low on life, so I decide to go face. Opponent finds Prismatic Ending to destroy my Leyline of the Guild Pact and remove my Scion combo, but they still have to deal with Scion of Draco. Okay, so I go for a Leyline Binding on their upkeep, and I'm holding Consign in case they play their Leyline Binding to get their Omnat back. Okay, so they have to deal with a lot, so there is 2 Scion of Dracos in the field. And I have also more cows in hand and Consign, which can stop a lot of their cards. So opponent is on 2, so both of my Scions are lethal. Opponent doesn't have a solution for that, and they concede. So I think they concede or not. Sorry, so they didn't concede, but I consigned their Nissa ability, and they didn't get the second ability, so they lose a mana, they don't get a creature in hand, and opponent then concedes. Okay, so that was the entire game. So let's check out game 2. Also, Consign is very good against Omna decks as well as Doorkeeper Thrall. But I still lost game 2, so let's see what happened there. Okay, so playing second. Let's check out the sideboarding plan against Omnat as well. As you can see, basically my deck is perfect against Omnat, and I don't want any of these cards in the main. I think like my main is just perfect to fight this deck. So very simple sideboarding plan here, just no sideboard at all. Okay, I start off with Ragavan. Unfortunately, sometimes when you're playing against a Vren 6 deck, they just play Vren 6 and ping your Ragavan, but it's okay. I got to bolt their Vren 6, so it's fine. Okay, so I bolt the Vren 6, of course, play my Arid Mesa, and I can now go for either Surveil. I'm hoping I decide to go for a Surveil. Let me cast a lot of cards in this color combination, but I also wanted to find a third land. So here it is. I cast my Flage, put my opponent down to 14, and I have 5 cards in the yard plus Flage, which means if I draw any land here, I will be able to escape Flage, or um, even just consign the Null Drifter or Flage and scam them into play. Okay, so that was great. The opponent went for Boseiju, but it didn't change anything. I was still able to escape Flage, or let's say scam Null Drifter. So I go for a scam Flage and deal 3 to opponent. Opponent is now on 10-9. So if I get to attack or binding their Flage, can be a lot of damage. Okay, so here I have multiple options. I decide to go for Null Drifter, then consign the Null Drifter ability. So Null Drifter stays on the field, and I'm also holding a Leyline Binding for their turn. So I can take my Null Drifter end of turn and then attack for 4. Opponent finds a Risen Reef and pass the turn. Okay, so end of turn I go Leyline Binding, get back my Flage into the graveyard, kill the Risen Reef in the process. Maybe I had better solutions, but this one seemed pretty solid. Okay, so I killed the Risen Reef. I could also like go face. Maybe that was better. I'm not sure. Okay, but here now I have enough mana to both play Territorial Kavu and Escape Flage, which was really good. So I was in a great situation. Opponent only 2 cards in hand. I have 3 cards in hand, and all cards are just very, very good. Okay, so at this point I decide to go face with Flage. I have a second Flage in my hand, which I can use to kill a Dread Arbor or clear a blocker. Okay, so my opponent goes for Renin 6, takes the Boseiju, so they get the Leyline Binding back, and unfortunately take my Flage again. I have another one in hand, so that's okay. Kill their blocker and go in with Kavu. And leave my opponent down on 1 life. Play a second Flage, and I'm in such a good situation here. I can also just hardcast Null Drifter for 7 mana next turn, which is amazing. Okay, opponent goes for Omnat on their turn, and then they find a second Green Sun Zenith, go for a Risen Reef, but opponent is not in a great situation here, so I go Ugin's Binding and get my Flage back, deal 3 face, and I can now even play the Null Drifter to just bounce my entire opponent's board back to their hand. So that was just too good, and the opponent concedes, and that was the match against the 4-color Omnat. Doorkeeper Trolls, obviously super good card to have in that matchup, but in these games we just didn't even need it. Okay, so let's check out match 3. Okay, so starting with Leyline of the Guild Pact. It's always sweet to start with the Leyline of the Guild Pact, because you can just find Scion at any point and have that strong Scion Draco combo available. Okay, also I have a Doorkeeper Troll Null Drifter combo in my hand, and we are playing this time against a non-interactive deck, so I was able to just jam Doorkeeper Troll on turn 2, play Arena of Glory turn 3, and just haste Null Drifter with Annihilator 1. That's like really good. Okay, so that was very sweet play I was able to do here. So Doorkeeper Troll, play Arena of Glory with haste. In this situation I even got the Scion of Jacob combo, but since my opponent was on Amulet Titan, it made more sense to just go for Annihilator 1 immediately. This means my opponent has to sack a land, and this also means they will have a hard time getting to 6 mana next turn, which is really important, like super important. Okay, so opponent plays a Gruul Turf here, gets 2 mana, and go for Dryad of the Elysian Grove, plays another land, so they're able to get a construct token. and play Dryad, so a good turn for the opponent. I go for attacks again. A Null Drifter makes them sack something, so they decide to sack a construct token, and I still have a Leyline Binding in my hand and Eugene's Binding for next turn, so I decide to wait for their upkeep and then go for Leyline Binding. Use Leyline Binding, take the spell lunking. Maybe that was not that good decision. I could maybe do something else. So okay, opponent here finds Amulet of Vigor. I have Doorkeeper Trial on the field, so remember that Primeval Titan doesn't work in this situation. They don't get the ATB ability, and so I would still be in a good situation. I would just bounce it with Eugene's Binding, and it's like a 6 mana, vanilla 6/6 that doesn't do anything. But here, opponent goes for Analyst combo instead. But since Analyst didn't get the ATB ability, that combo wasn't infinite, like killing me. So they just didn't have the kill. They just did the combo to get mana or whatever, but they were not able to do the kill with Analyst combo without other pieces. Opponent takes a lot of mana here. Finds Urza Cave and then sacks more land with Lotus Field. At this point, they are able to get a bunch of mana. And yeah, here they play Primeval Titan. As you know, as I said before, Primeval Titan is just a 6/6 vanilla in this situation. So I go for a Hasty Flage, which was amazing here. So Hasty Flage also deals 3 on attack, and the opponent will probably have to deal with it with their creatures, and all their lands are in graveyard, so pretty bad situation for them, and my opponent concedes. So that was a game against the Titan. So let's check out game 2. Okay, so in game 2, let's see the sideboarding plan. Obviously, Verters go in this matchup. Eugene's bindings are not that great, so take that off. Bring in 2 stubborn denials. Consigns are decent, and the stubborn denials as well, but having 8 of those spells feel probably too much, so I just brought in 2 stubborn denials and removed 2 Eugene's binding. Okay, so also bolts are mostly just medium against them. Doesn't kill Dryad, doesn't kill Titan. It can kill Analyst, but yeah. Okay, so uh, okay, I have some options here. So now I can play, I have full domain, and I can play Cyno Draco plus hold interaction. Interaction being stubborn denial, consigned to memory, both pretty good pieces in this matchup. I was able to consign the Lumra ability, which is often like a really big deal. They would get their Saga back, and who knows what else would they mill. So that can be that is mostly very solid play. Okay. Opponent is attacking with Lumra now. I have option to play the Doorkeeper Trial and trade for my Scion, and I decide to do this. I lose my Ferocious, but I can get it next turn again. I can also try to scam the Null Drifter, of course. Okay, so now I have attacker and opponent is only on 1 card in hand. I go Leyline Binding their 6, leaving 6 on the field seemed like too risky, so I decided to binding that immediately and play the Scion and pass the turn. So opponent 1 card in hand. They play Scape Shift. With Dryad of Elysian Grow on the field, actually Escape Shift was pretty good for them in this situation, and they're able to do exactly like 4 Valakut activations to kill me with combo kill me with Escape Shift. So I didn't really expect that, to be honest. Didn't really expect them to kill me with Escape Shift. So that didn't happen for a long time. So I completely forgot about that option. But yeah, opponent was able to do it, and that was game over. Okay, so let's now check out game 3. Okay, so starting again with Leyline of the Guild Pact, Doorkeeper Thrall, as I said before, is a pretty decent card in this matchup, so I decided to keep this. Opponent starts with Green Sun Zenith on Dread Arbor, and I have 2 Arena of Glories. I can decide. I can go for Doorkeeper Thrall, of course, here, but I decided it's too early for Thrall. Best for me here is just just go for a Territorial Kavu and start attacking, but opponent has removal here for the Leyline of the Guild Pact. Luckily, if you didn't know this, this is very important. Kavu doesn't die to this ability because you are immediately getting a land, putting it on the field. So Kavu doesn't die, it survives this process. Okay, so I find Lush Portico keeping Steam Vents on the top. This is good, this is great for me, means I will be able to a double spell next turn if needed. I continue attacking with Kavu. Now I can do the discard ability. I decide to discard one of the Thralls and I find a land from the top and pass the turn. So keeping Werther, Doorkeeper Thrall, Consign for their turn. Actually great hand for my situation. Opponent plays Dread of the Elysian Grow, can't do much about that, and they ramp more with lands. So now end turn I go for Doorkeeper Thrall. I go for a full domain, make my Kavu a 5/5, kill their Dryad, and do the discard ability with Kavu. So now I play the Cyno Jaco. So now I have basically lethal damage on the field plus consign to memory. And yeah, opponent goes for Crumbling Vestige, and I decide to use my consign to memory on that because it disables them from getting 6 mana, and the 6 mana is a kind of a big milestone in their deck. Yeah, that's when they do a lot of their stuff. So now opponent only has Dread Arbor, and I find land for a turn and try to discard land immediately. Try to find a removal to go in for all the damage, but opponent has 1 blocker and survives on 1 life. Okay, survives on 1 life, but they were not able to survive the match, and they concede here. So that was a match against Amulet Titan. Okay, so let's check out match 4. A lot of fun games in this league. Let's see what was next one. As I said, this league was 5-0. I was able to do a trophy. And it was my first try with this deck, so I don't have much experience with it yet. Didn't play it too much, but what I played here before the Ether Drift, the deck was just super fun. It made sense, and okay. So let's now continue with the game. Here I go for Doorkeeper Thrall. Opponent has a Totscour and puts a Grizzlebrand to their graveyard. Okay, a Grizzlebrand is a worst piece for me because Atraxa has ATB ability, so Doorkeeper Thrall stops it. But I can Consign also stops it, but both of these cards can't really stop Grizzlebrand. So I would say they are both kind of weak to Grizzlebrand. So yeah. Opponent had Gorios on turn 3 after discarding Grizzlebrand to hand size soon before that. So Now they were able to draw a bunch of cards with Griselbrand and completely control me and my next few turns. And I'm also on 8 life, which is kind of low. And yeah, that was it. Opponent had to discard too. They have hand full of good cards, and I don't have much of anything. Also, top decking lands didn't help in this situation, so that was it. Let's check out game 2. Okay, so I would say this is a pretty solid hand. I start off with Ragavan. Let's check out the sideboarding plan for this one. Okay, so one Flage, one Null Drifter, two Consigns go out in this matchup, two Lightning Bolts as well. Okay, so I play the Soul Guide Lantern. We're playing against Gorios again, if you forgot. Okay, so I have double Soul Guide Lantern, I have double Stubborn Denial. All these cards are good against Gorios, they are great. Okay, opponent goes for Totscour here and puts Atraxa into the graveyard. Great find for opponent. Opponent then goes Gorios, try to reanimate Atraxa, but I have double Stubborn Denial plus a double Soul Guide Lantern, so yeah, they can't do much here. I decide to crack one of my Soul Guides and find Leyline of the Guild Pact. So I did not play Scion here because I wanted to go for the combo and just play Leyline of the Guild Pact first. So next turn I can go Scion of Jaco, just like cast it. And when it resolves, I have a Stubborn Denial to protect it. So I think that was the best situation here. The other option was to completely tap out um, to play Scion, so that felt worse. Okay, now I go for a Scion. I have Stubborn Denial, a backup, but my opponent also has like 5 cards, which is a lot, and also now Elesh Norn on the field, which can do a lot of damage when it enters. Okay, so I continue attacking and I have double Stubborn Denial, so even though my opponent has Elesh Norn, I still feel like I'm in a decent situation. I decide to use my first Stubborn Denial. Considering I lost the game, maybe I should have left the Tainted Indulgence and hold the Stubborn Denial for something else. Okay, so now I go for Null Drifter, try to draw 2 and try to find a card that helps me scam the Null Drifter. I did not get it, but I got mana to play Territorial Kavu and still holding Stubborn Denial backup. So that was the game. And let's check out game 3. Okay, so mulliganed first hand to basically get that same hand with the Leyline of the Guild Pact, which is significantly better. Okay, so I had decided to start with Flooded Strand. Leyline of the Guild Pact is on the field. I'm holding Leyline Binding plus Stubborn Denial for their turn, and I also have I can go like Territorial Cow immediately, but I decide to keep a Stubborn Denial and Leyline Binding for their turn. I was able to stubborn their Tainted Indulgence in this situation, which was good. So, okay. Now I can play Territorial Kavu. If I resolve it, and when I resolve it, I'm still holding Stubborn Denial with Ferocious ability, so that feels great. But instead I find Scion of Jaco combo, so I decide to go for that instead because it's just super hard for opponent to deal with this combo. And I also have Stubborn Denial backup to protect it, so I felt like I'm in a good situation here. I'm attacking with Scion, I have Leyland Binding, which is great against them, and Territorial Cowl, and now also Soul Guide Lantern top deck was amazing. I had it, kind of had it all. I had multiple options, but I decided to go with Soul Guide Lantern this turn and just hold my interaction, Stubborn Denial plus Leyline Binding, and the Sun combo plus Soul Guide Lantern was too much for my opponent and they concede the match here, so that was win against Gorios in match 4. So now we just have to see the last remaining match of this league for a trophy. So let's see how that went. Okay, I'm playing first. I have had to mulligan the starting hand, of course, and here I keep Layla of the Guild Pact with Sound combo and consign to memory 3 lands, and one of these lands is Arena of Glory. I would say pretty crazy start for my side, and going turn 2 Arena of Glory with Sound combo is just kind of disgusting at times. Also putting Flage in the yard on turn 1 was very good as well. Okay, I go for a Cyno Draco with haste. It's hasty Draco and attacks with vigilance. Completely stops Dragavan. And yeah, my opponent is in big trouble. They go for Temple Garden here and play Territorial Cowl. So actually I was playing against a Zoo for a trophy here. And yeah, Doorkeeper Thrall is not great against Zoo. It's mostly a jumper or enabler for my cards, but Consign to Memory is actually it's a super strong card. It's a super strong card against them. Counters Leyland Bindings, counters Cyno Draco, which is, let's say, most relevant thing. I continue attacking with Cyno Draco, and now since Doorkeeper Thrall is not that important at the moment, I decide to go for a second Leyline of the Guild Pact. This way it becomes even harder for them to do anything about my combo, so that was it. I continue attacking with Cyno Draco, 2 Leylines, and my opponent was not able to deal with it, and now I go Doorkeeper Thrall with haste to deal final damage. So Doorkeeper with haste is exactly 5 damage with flyers. My opponent can't do much about that, so I get the win in game 1. So let's check out game 2. Okay, let's check out the sideboarding plan against Domain Zoo with this one. So 1 Flage, 1 Null Drifter, and go out and 2 Doorkeeper Thralls, since Doorkeeper Thrall is just not great against opponent's deck. They play like 2 mana 5/5 creatures and similar, so 2 Doorkeeper Thralls go out, but 4 Consigns are still in, and 2 Thralls are still in to be able to scam Flage and Null Drifter, but that was the reason why I decided to also trim those 2 cards in this matchup. Okay, so I have a decent hand here, have some options, I'm playing it slowly, and I decide to go for Doorkeeper Thrall end turn. And now I go for Doorkeeper Thrall, attack first. My opponent is down on 16, and now I can play Territorial Cow with Consign to Memory backup, which feels pretty solid. As you can see here, I decided to let them take the Doorkeeper Thrall. I didn't really care that much about them killing the Thrall with Binding. I would counter Binding if it targeted my Territorial Cow with the Consign. Unfortunately, Cosine doesn't work against Treble Flame, so my Kabu died, and yeah. But overall, this was decent situation for me so far. Got another Kabu on the field. Opponent plays Kabu as well. Okay, so now we will see that I was able to use Eugene's Binding. As you can see, I have a Cyno Draco in my hand, so I was able to attack with Kawu, discard the Eugene's Binding, and then cast a Scion on the same turn and get the kill. But my opponent would probably take a trade with territorial cow in that situation. I didn't really want that. I wanted cow to survive. So yeah, here you can see me. See my opponent going for Sino Jaco, and I have a consign to memory, but just don't really care about that much, since I have a flashback from Eugene's binding, and now I have a double consign plus Leyland binding, basically unbeatable hand for what opponent has at the moment. Opponent goes for a Leyland binding, and I decide to use one of my consigns, and I'm still holding Leyland binding for a blocker or a second binding or whatever. Opponent don't have it, so that is it. That is game over, and I got that is the entire trophy league with this fun brew. Okay, so let's now check out the list once again. I have to say I'm pretty happy with the list. I would not change anything in the main, in this side. I really liked all the cards. It was just a first league with this deck, so I'll have to try it again one time and see if I really want any other changes or not. The metagame will probably change a bit also through time, through this month and the next month, so yeah. Okay, so that's it. Doorkeeper Thrall, often just very good, especially when you're playing against meta decks. It's even better in this deck, help us scam Null Drifter and Flage, and we saw in both of these situations where I was able to either scam Null Drifter against Amulet on turn 3, it was directly game winning, and when you also a few times I'm scammed Hasty Flage, which also won games. Okay, so all great plays with Doorkeeper Thrall, but we also have Consign to scam them, and Consign, both Consign and Doorkeeper Thrall are at the moment like really fine cards to have at the in the main board, and it was kind of the most boarded card for me in Zoo anyway. So that's it. I really liked the Eugene's binding, and I'm pretty happy I was able to use it on last game to get the kill with it. Okay, so that was sweet. And yeah, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. For the end, friendly reminder to click like, click subscribe, comment down in the video what do you think about this mid-rangey version of Zoo, kind of a meta pick at the moment to beat those strong meta decks like Orzo Blink, like Energy, Grinding Station, Amulet Titan, like in this league, and it's still good post board against combo decks with consigns, with stubborn denials, more removals, graveyard hate, stuff like that. So that's it. Yeah, again, thank you for watching. That's all for today, and goodbye.